Chris Cornell is most famously known as the lead singer of Soundgarden, as well as the singer of the James Bond title theme, You Know My Name, for Casino Royale. But on the 18th of May, 2017, Cornell was found dead in his Detroit hotel room. He was found hanging by a noose, so his death was ruled a suicide, but that wouldn't explain the large amount of blood found at the scene. Marilyn Monroe is a woman who needs no introduction. Her official cause of death was ruled an overdose due to drugs, but some theories claim she was killed by the CIA due to her, shall we say, special relationship with John F. Kennedy. Princess Diana was killed in a car crash, though this has always been disputed. At the time of her death, Diana was reportedly unhappy with her marriage to Prince Charles. Now, this would have been an embarrassment to the royal family if they'd gotten a divorce, so could she have possibly been killed by the MI6 at the order of Prince Philip? Maybe. Tupac Shakur's death is not only mysterious, but also 25 years later, it's still unsolved. For those who don't know, Tupac was gunned down in the passenger seat of a car while at a red light in Las Vegas. Some theories claim he was killed by a hitman sent by fellow rapper Notorious B.I.G., though this has never been proven. Notorious B.I.G.'s death is eerily similar to the death of Tupac Shakur. He was murdered in the exact same way as Tupac only 6 months after Shakur's death. His murder too is also unsolved. George Reeves is famous for playing the role of Superman, but at the age of 45, he was found dead by what was ruled to be a suicide. Now this is pretty suspicious, because at the time of his apparent suicide, Reeves was at the height of his career. In addition to that, no fingerprints were found on the gun, and there was no recoil of blood in Reeves' hand. American actor and comedian Andy Kaufman died due to a rare form of lung cancer in 1984. Now this death is mysterious because Kaufman reportedly said to close friends that he wanted to fake his death and return 20 years later. But it's been 17 years since 2004, and there's been no sightings of Kaufman. That is, of course, unless you ask some of his fans, and even Kaufman's older brother, who still believes Kaufman to be alive and well. The assassination of 35th U.S. President John F. Kennedy is one of the most well-known events in U.S. history, but his death and those suspicious events around it are also some of the most mysterious. The man who was officially charged for Kennedy's death was named Lee Harvey Oswald, though many people believe he didn't act alone. Other people associated with Kennedy's assassination have also died in mysterious ways, which is just adding fuel to the fire that is the conspiracy of who really killed John F. Kennedy. At the time of Natalie Wood's death, she was reportedly in an unhappy marriage. It should also be noted that she had a childhood fear of the water, so when her body was found in the ocean, covered in bruises, immediately most people would assume that a murder had taken place. Though investigators wouldn't rule her death as a murder, it would instead be classified as an accidental drowning. Recently, however, her cause of death has been changed from accidental drowning to undetermined. In 1973, Bruce Lee was found unresponsive in bed after taking painkillers to stop a headache he'd been having. Lee's death was classified as an allergic reaction to the painkiller, though this seems highly unlikely. Lee's personal doctor stated that no one dies from taking one painkiller, which has led many people to suspect Bruce Lee was murdered by someone, like maybe his producer Raymond Chow. After Bruce Lee's death, Chow received the rights to all of his films. He would distribute them internationally and make millions. On April the 8th, 1994, nearly 30 years ago, Kurt Cobain was found dead due to an apparent suicide. Many people, including myself, believe that Cobain was murdered by Courtney Love, his girlfriend at the time. At the time of Cobain's death, he had heroin in his system, enough to where he would have been unable to pull the trigger. In addition, his suicide note was written in 2 different styles, the first being about Courtney, and the second about suicide. Jim Morrison was a British singer-songwriter who didn't enjoy the music industry turning his music into a, quote, teen pop sensation. His death was ruled a heart failure, but the events that took place after it are highly suspicious, to say the least. The only person to see Morrison's corpse was his girlfriend, and she couldn't remember any key details, like the examining doctor's name. Now, one might assume that you could just look at his signature on Morrison's death certificate. However, it was completely unreadable. In addition, no autopsy was ever performed, due to the cause of death being ruled as a heart failure. Keith Ratliff was a founding member of the YouTube channel FPS Russia. He was found dead in his gun store by what was ruled a suicide. However, he was shot in the back of the head execution style, which has led people to theorize he was killed by the Obama administration. Now, if this theory sounds far-fetched, that's because it was first proposed by Alex Jones. In 2009, the king of pop, Michael Jackson, died after an overdose on sleeping medication. This was a shock to everyone, except for Michael, because he saw it coming. In the years before his death, Michael would have a falling out with his record label Sony. Now, some people think that Sony might be the cause of Michael's death, and according to some of Michael's friends, in the months before he died, he feared eating and drinking, because he thought if he did either, he would be poisoned. In 1980, ex-Beatles member John Lennon was shot and killed by David Chapman. Chapman claimed he did it because Lennon claimed to be more popular than God. But is this the actual reason? Some people claim that Chapman was sent by the government to kill Lennon. At the time, John Lennon was a political activist whose views didn't exactly align with the United States government. Before his death, Lennon was almost deported by Richard Nixon. Perhaps the US government wanted to get rid of a man who could bring 1 million people together in protest.